Hi, this is Marcus Pulis, and this is Voluntary Visions. Today I'm going to be talking about the future and what the future holds for humanity and how I see the obstacles in front of us. This is called Freedom is Inevitable. Our world is on the edge of a breakthrough, at least in this country. The people are ready to truly be free. Eyes are opening all over the globe to a new paradigm that puts the individual front and center. This evolution has been a long time coming. History has led us to this point. Technology, creativity, and pure will of the human spirit are all coming together to set us free. With all of this positive momentum, what is keeping the public chained to the what is keeping the public chained to this dominating force and violence we call the government? That is a complicated answer that would take an entire book of information to fully answer. I strongly suggest that some of those answers can be found in a book by my friend Adam Kokesh called Freedom. The link will be below. We can get a basic concept of it pretty easily, though. Before I begin listing the few barriers I see in front of us, I want to stop for a moment and acknowledge that this evolution is coming. I feel it in my bones. It is inevitable. My viewpoint is hopeful and optimistic. But in that view, I must boldly recognize the road ahead and its challenges. It is not helpful to deny those challenges. We should prepare for them by trying to see them for what they are, and this knowledge will enable us to more easily get through the roadblocks quicker. The biggest thing stopping us from moving forward is simple. It's us. We infight, argue, tear each other down. There are 100 ways that the state can be made irrelevant, yet so many of us think our way is the only way. Obviously, I believe that the method being employed by my friend Adam and our campaign is the best method. For those of you unfamiliar with our platform, again, I will post links in the bottom down there. Although I think this is the best method, watch out! I'm about to do something unusual. I don't know everything. I could be wrong. What are you doing? Maybe your way gets us to a peaceful, free world faster than ours. Please work just as hard as we are. All I ask is that you spend your time enacting your ideas. They could be the change we need. The government and its friends love that we fight each other. Let's be honest. Those tools in the state are not really that smart. Look at the government leaders. Donald Trump is our president. His opposition in the last election was Hillary Clinton. Hillary, the Hildebeest. These are the best that those two parties had to offer. So, it is far easier for them to encourage us to attack ourselves. Recently, I had a conversation with someone who considers himself a minarchist. I'm a voluntarist, or an anarchist. Shh. He told me that he is constantly being attacked by anarchists online. He has a popular podcast where he spreads the ideas that we own ourselves and that the only valid government is voluntary. The only real difference between him and myself is words. We agreed to just call ourselves libertarians. I told him that I had similar problems. I've been attacked by people who call themselves anarchists because our campaign is using the election as a referendum on whether the federal government should exist. That they say we should not engage in the process, and what we are doing gives legitimacy to the government itself. My answer to that is, again, if what we are doing does not work for you, this progress to stateless society is inevitable. Maybe what you are doing will get us there. I will not tear others down who are helping in the work to spread freedom. I just won't do it. Another obstacle on our way is the integration of government into everything. In some ways, the central planners have their fingers in more than they ever have. 200 years ago, if you wanted to get away from the state, all you had to do was move. In this country, that is exactly what happened. First, people settled in what is now the Midwest and then on to the West. The reason it was the Wild West is because government did not have control over it. The native tribes had territory, but they did not have nearly the centralized planned land that exists today. In the West today, 47% of the land is owned by the federal government. That's terrible. The government has taken pains to make sure that they maintain control of all of the land. But what the Bureau of Land Management, or the BLM, did to Cliven Bundy is a perfect example of the state imposing itself on land. I will also have a Wikipedia article that gives you the basics on that issue. Although this story shows the lengths the state is willing to go to maintain its stranglehold on land, it also shows that we can stand against it. The violent monopoly wants us to believe it has complete control, but it also realizes that if it goes too far, it will answer to an angry populace. Within the last sentence is contained the secret of our future. They know the people are the most powerful, and that they are even more powerful than the government itself. John Locke taught that if land is not being used by anyone for an extended period of time, it belongs to no one. It is what he called in a state of nature. The government has no rightful claim to any of that land. To Locke, to claim ownership of it is to defy natural law. Nobody does that for very long. The final wall in our way to a free society that I would like to discuss is propaganda. This is simple. The government and its controlled media say it is so. How many people just accept the government as the answer? I don't think I go one day without facing someone who has no real reason that the government is any answer, yet they say that it is. We are being brainwashed constantly by a complicit media with an agenda to funnel all power to its master, the state. Like so many of the founding fathers of this country, they said a free press is essential to liberty. The mainstream media is bought and paid for by government and multinational corporations, which are also bought by government, and part of the government is owned by them. They're indistinguishable at this point. Every story is set up on the same framework. That formula is present the problem, inform about that problem based on the government's perspective, and then offer the government as the solution. It is the media's job to keep the people fearful, compliant, and feeling that there is no solution out of those that they present. Slowly, the media has destroyed all of their credibility. The American people know that they are being lied to. Sure, the government's divide and conquer techniques has one side believing that CNN is not to be trusted and the other believing that Fox News is the devil, but at least people realize that the news is being controlled to some degree. If people take the time to actually look into the stories, they quickly discover that all of them are deceiving us. Every one. Proof that people are making this realization is the fact that fake news is constantly being discussed. We also look at the rise of independent media as a step towards real journalism. And of course, they're trying their damnedest to block that as well. The mainstream media will say that these podcasts and smaller outlets should be researched because they don't always present unbiased content. Of course, they report biased content, many a times. How do you get to unbiased content? I'm kind of curious. My content is very biased. I don't know that it's possible to be unbiased. But by urging us to investigate our news, they have signed their own death certificate. We have been and will continue investigating them as well. At the end of the day, what stands in our way is to a free world of peace and prosperity. What is it? Illusions are what stand in our way. None of the examples are real. Other people who are working on liberating us are not my enemy, nor are they yours. The solution is simple. Just stop arguing and focus on your ideas, put them into practice, and may the best idea dissolve government. It really is that simple. The government is not an all-powerful entity, and it can be stopped. Nature is way more powerful than any group of humans. Evolution will make government obsolete. Obsolete, not absolute. As for the media, they are imploding as we speak. You can see it on Facebook. You can see it through YouTube. People are questioning MeWe. When I wrote this, MeWe and Minds were virtually non-existent. I wrote this initially on Steemit, which has seen a big decline, but it's still there. These growths of other opportunities are going to continue to grow because people don't want to be controlled. All of this whole thing reminds me of the movie Bug's Life. Their government, the grasshoppers, used force to extort their currency, food, from the people. The grasshoppers lost control when the ants realized that though their enemy, or the government, was scary and big, they were more powerful than their masters, and they prevailed once they stood up to them. It's pretty simple. The numbers that we have is so much greater than what the government has. Nothing really stands in our way. All we have to do is to keep moving forward towards freedom. It is coming. We have the opportunity to come together in one voice and say that we own ourselves. That is how I think it works best. We do not have to be united under one government to be united in American values. It is time to localize government, and it will become voluntary. No individual is our enemy. Our enemy is force, coercion, and violence. Therefore, our common foe is central authority. It is oligarchy. We as a people are too good for this government. We will rise together and finally free America.